Hi, hello, good morning. This is Rashmi Shetty from Bangalore, India, a member of CCA Global, and we are proud from the Asia chapter to present today's talk. But before we move to today's speaker and the topic, I'd like to give you a brief intro about what CCA is. A conversation between few coaches way back in 2019. Yes, today it sounds like it's way back, led to why it is important for us as coaches to make nature and climate as the biggest stakeholder in our conversation, especially the coaching conversations with leaders globally. And that led today to a movement of 1,700 members plus, and the numbers only increasing. This year, the festival is a week long festival from March 3rd to tomorrow, being International Women's Day, to tap into the sacred feminine that all of us have within us. It concludes tomorrow. So please make sure you're part of all the events all through today and tomorrow. And parallelly, there are events running. Each of them recorded and will be on the different channels. All you need to do is visit our website. The entire Climate Coaching Alliance was initiated by a conversation of three amazingly beautiful women: Dr. Josie McLean, Eve Turner, and Dr. Alison Vibro. Sadly, Dr. Alison Vibro lost her battle to cancer just before the festival began. Though she was part of the planning, her spirit, I'm sure, and we all know, is pervading this entire festival. As we move in to today's speaker, an amazing human being more than anything else for all the achievements that he has to his credit, the list is really long. Casey Janardhan, an honor to have you today with us. A live demonstration of the quote: first impression makes the best impression, and the last impression should leave a lasting impression, with his personally autographed visiting cards, which have today become a collector's item. The community of handwriting and calligraphy enthusiasts, as well as the Connoisseurs of Fountain Pen fraternity, revere him as the living legend. He's the only Indian to be allowed to write his own passport way back in 1993, his daughter's birth certificate in 1998, and his father's death certificate in 2001. The only Indian to teach power handwriting to the British in 2001. Co-author of the first ever book on handwriting in the Asia Pacific region in 1992. He has also calligraphed over 80,000 plus certificates, citations, etc. for his clients all over the world. He established, well, I don't know whether the pronunciation would be right, J's La Quill, the first ever Museum of Handwriting, lettering, calligraphy, and writing instruments in the world, housing 7 different elements. Inaugurated by His Excellency Lorenzo Angiolioni, the Italian ambassador to India, Casey Janardhan has been widely featured in local, national, and international media regularly and awarded many times by the various institutions. And today, he's telling us all about CSR, which what most of us depend on, to personal social responsibility, how each one of us can add on to make this climate crisis an integral part of our every decision, and nature a part of everything we live and we breathe. Thank you so much, Casey. Over to you.
Thank you, Rashmi. First of all, let me wish all of you a wonderful International Women's Day. And it all starts, learning starts in the womb and it only ends in the in the tomb. So, it's all the women here and the mothers who need to also follow certain things very carefully to educate the next generation. So let's go by whatever you had put in there. Like we asked the question, are you immersed in the past? Are you aware of the present? And are you clear about the future? How many of us have asked these questions and how many of us are clear about this? Because past gives us all the information and history about what happened. And The good is to be rejoiced, and whatever disasters need to be controlled or managed. So we need to get immersed in the past. And are you aware of the surroundings? Are you aware of where you live and what your surroundings are and how you are supposed to take care of it? That's why the question, are you aware of the present? And whatever is happening in the present is going to be affecting the future. So are you clear about what you should be doing in future? So as you said, CSR is a common word today because of the corporates having that kind of wherewithal to spend on corporate social responsibility initiatives to make this world a better place to live in. I believe one of us should move to PSR, which is personal social responsibility. And coming from the background of education and writing, I wanted to say this, that, writing is for education. And a lot of interesting articles are still being written today. And even if it is in the digital medium, somebody first prepares in writing and then starts to speak or, make a storyboard and telecast it on various digital mediums. So coming to writing, let me go straight to the point of how we could try and save the environment and make it green and environment friendly. Today, I chose to wear a dark green, olive green jacket and different hues of greens and blues there to depict that nature is beautiful and we have to go green. Go green is a slogan everybody is using everywhere. So in handwriting, how do we go green? Let me come to that. Today, I am very, very, upset that a lot of people are using these ball pens, which are the use and throw types. In India, they're very cheap to buy, hardly 3 or 5 rupees. You use them and you keep throwing them. But how many of you have realized that these use and throw ball pens are collecting in certain nooks and corners and crevices everywhere and getting hidden, and they are becoming mountainous, really huge. And the biggest problem is you can't recycle these use and throw ball pens. The cost of recycling is more expensive than producing a new one. So these ball pens are going to become a major threat with a snowballing effect on the humanity, on the human race. So please stop using these ball pens. Move to the fountain pens, which is a beautiful writing instrument, which also gives you the pleasure of writing, with its smoothness of writing. And the ink that you use in a fountain pen is environment friendly. Well, there could be a debate about what about paper that you use. Well, you cut down trees to make paper. We are also now used to replanting trees or planting more trees in various parts. Tree anywhere you want to replenish this trees which have been cut off, as well as the paper can also be recycled. Today, the technology is advanced to recycle paper to even make it fountain pen friendly. But somebody asked a question, what is a fountain pen? Then I think I need to show you. Okay, this is a pen that I'm holding here, and it has a nib, and you fill in ink inside the body of the pen. Either it could have a cartridge or a converter, or it could be having a tank which can be filled with various kinds of mediums, like you can fill it with an ink filler or you can fill it with a piston system. So this is a fountain pen where the ink gushes out through the, locally you call it a tongue, but we call it a feed. The feed has a lot of capillary tubes, and because of the capillary action, it gushes out in a fountainous manner, and that is why this is called as a fountain pen. And you buy one fountain pen, whatever brand, whatever it may be, it'll last you for years together. You don't need to keep on buying and throwing. All you need to do is to fill in ink, and the ink is environment friendly. Thank you, Bernard, for the compliment of a beautiful tie. I hope it makes us all go green. Now, this initiatives will let us go green in writing to start with. And we need to bring back these fountain pens in a large manner and stop using these kind of use and throw ball pens. I'm not against all the ball pens. There are certain ball pens with jotter refills, which are made with metal, and that can be recycled. But these cheap plastic tubes cannot be recycled, and they're becoming really dangerous. So we need to stop this and get into fountain pens. So my appeal to all youngsters, parents, and teachers, please move to fountain pen. Enjoy that buttery feel when you write with a fountain pen on paper. And the e-waste that is coming up is becoming even more dangerous. Well, we thought because cutting down trees was dangerous, So let's bring in more of electronics. And they said we'll have paperless offices, paperless schools. And that was really detrimental. After 20 years of using various kinds of computers in this country as well as elsewhere for a longer period of time, maybe for about 40 years, we have found that the e-waste is piling up, and e-waste is even more hazardous. And what happened when they removed handwriting from schools in the United States of America for some time? They said we're going to go totally paperless. After a 10-year period, they found something very interesting. Human beings, when you don't indulge in the activity of handwriting, it affects your cognitive skills. And the University of California did this study. They found for 10 years, whoever went to school and didn't practice handwriting or were not taught handwriting had got more issues on memory. And because memory is affected, their vocabulary is affected, and communication became shorter and it became short-circuited. You see how it is affecting us. We are not able to convey things with clarity when you lose out on the practice of handwriting. Now, that was another point I wanted to make. And from there, we can move from the personal social responsibility of using a fountain pen and eco-friendly paper and eco-friendly ink to looking at where we live, our homes and our offices. And there also we can reduce this kind of plastic and this use and throw ball pens. And then you should become responsible for your locality, and then your city, your state, your country, and the rest of the world. That is how we need to move in. And so you could step up from information, either talking about it or writing about it, and then see that the rest of the world gets the right kind of awareness in reducing these kind of environmentally hazardous activities. So, Rashmi, I think I have just given the prelude. If you want, we can move into how the digital medium, which was thought as an answer to various problems, has also started creating a lot of problems. And about the future, everybody's talking about global warming. Everybody's talking about the sea levels going to be rising, and the maps are going to be changed after 50 years. You may lose a lot of coastal towns and cities to the sea level increase. And then we're also talking about natural disasters, which could disrupt electronic communication. Then what are we going to do? You know, a few years ago, when there was a cyclone that hit Chennai, the sea cables, the undersea cables of internet got disrupted, and it disrupted banking and so many activities for over a month. We were all, left wondering what will happen next. Now, with the current war happening between Russia and Ukraine, do you know that Mr. Putin had ordered for lakhs and lakhs of typewriters a few years ago? Now, I knew that there was something coming because of these typewriters being ordered. I could guess that, okay, they wanted more security and safety of all the information that they're generating in Russia and all the plans that they're making to be typed and placed in files and not on the digital medium, because anybody can hack it. I also understand he spent a huge amount of money in cybersecurity. So coming back to handwriting or typing. Now, typing is for larger number of use, but then for personal use, personal information to be secure and safe and your privacy being protected, you got to go back to writing and keeping it with you so that nobody can steal it from you unless they come to you personally. Anybody from any part of the world cannot hack into your systems and steal your personal information. So that is where, again, we are coming back to writing and how it can really protect you. Now, Mr. Putin also has been threatening to cut the undersea cables. He's also been threatening, what will happen, you tell me, if the undersea cable is cut and the internet goes off? How many of them are going to be comfortable? I think many people are going to go crazy about it. I have some information from yesteryears. I need to confirm that ISRO in India was one organization which maintained both digital as well as, records in the paper medium, so that if the digital fails, they can go back to this. So I think we need to take a leaf from them and learn from them that we need to maintain information also in the written form. Everything digital could be dangerous. Now, you also are talking about stealth drones, which are going to be coming across to your business districts. Copy everything from whatever you call as the cloud in just a few minutes, and then press a button, say, delete everything in that cloud and go away. And again, it can create a lot of chaos. Now, I'm just not trying to threaten you. I'm telling you about what is in store. Because, Nostradamus said many things many, many years ago, but some of them are coming true. Every one of you is like Nostradamus. That is the question we asked. Are you thinking about the future? Do you know what future holds for you? You need to be ready for the unknown. You need to be ready to expect the unexpected. Now, this pandemic was a wonderful experience that all of us have had. Nobody even imagined in 2020 January what's going to hit us, isn't it? And when it came, it was utter chaos. We didn't know how to manage it also. So again, these kind of bio wars or these kind of digital wars and all these things that are coming up tells us more about we are all products of nature. We need to live close to nature. We need to do things which will really nurture nature and not destroy nature. And strongly, I recommend handwriting is a natural act for every human being. Going back in history, we started scratching on the walls of Sumeria. And from there, we came to the clay tablets. Again, clay tablet is natural in Mesopotamia. Then we wrote on palmyra leaves, which are stitched together. The papyrus came in. And then we used the quill, again, a natural product, right? We used all natural elements to communicate those days. And it was wonderful. And what was written even 2000 years ago is still available today. And don't read me wrong, in the digital world, you press a wrong button, you can delete everything. And everything is gone. But these things which were written even 2000 years ago are available to us. They are in museums. They are safely, kept in various other places for the human race to go and see that. So that is something which is very interesting for me. And I hope others also will find it interesting, that handwriting is forever and writing will remain whatever could be the modern developments. I'm excited to see the Samsung phones with the stylus. I'm excited to see an iPad with a pencil, iPad 9 and further. They have these pencils. iPad Pro have got a pencil. And it allows you to write on that electronic slate, as I call it, in any language you want. So act of writing has remained, though the surfaces and the instruments that have been used have developed or changed according to time. So let's not forget about the act of writing and say the keyboard is the only answer. Sorry. Let's get back to practicing writing. And the pleasure even today is writing on paper with a fountain pen. I'm saying that again and again because I want this to strongly be an engram in the minds of various people. And mothers to be and mothers, please tell your children to use a fountain pen and to be environment friendly. You're demonstrating by using a fountain pen that you're environment friendly. You care about nature. You want to see that it is not destroyed. All right. I am very interested in what Charles Handy said. I'd like to quote Charles Handy here. Charles Handy had an interesting story to say that, if you all about change, because we are talking about change being the constant thing. And we have seen so many changes that happened in the last few years. And somebody says 9 a.m. technology is going obsolete by 5 p.m. and change is the constant thing. Be ready to face change. So Charles Handy had a very interesting story about it, which is, he says, take an earthen pot. Again, earthen pot is natural. Place it on 3 stones, right? Pour some cold water into it, okay? And then you take a frog from the environment and put it into that earthen pot with cold water. Then start a fire. Now what happens? The water gets warmed up slowly. The frog that is swimming inside gets a little comfortable, because lukewarm water is supposed to be very comfortable to us human beings as well as the frogs. And it becomes complacent, comfortable, and nice. And as it keeps on swimming, it becomes a little warmer and warmer and warmer. And when it becomes hot, you're not able to react to it immediately. And it gets to a boiling point where you get cooked to death. Now, I want all human beings to realize this is what is happening in our world with global warming. I don't want you to become complacent and get cooked to death. Now, he also gives another example, the same thing. Take an earthen pot, put it on 3 stones, start the fire, pour the water, and let it reach a boiling point. Take the frog from the environment, put it inside, it'll immediately leap out. It leaps out immediately because it's a sudden change. But what is happening to us is we are not looking at certain sudden changes. It is building up. But because we are not aware of it, we are complacent. We have not really come to terms with it. We are not able to realize it. Please realize that we are getting cooked to death slowly. Please look around. Read about the past disasters. Look around the environment and find out what changes are happening. Be aware of it so that you can take corrective action for the future. Now, this is what I wanted to say, and we can take on questions. We can discuss something interesting. This is the idea I had right from the writing part of it as a PSR, and it can grow to many things because it has to be interlinked. It has to have a holistic view of the environment, and everything in this world is interconnected.
True, Casey. That's very beautifully said, and the examples are really wonderful for us to relate to, especially of the frog in the water and global warming. Okay, so I'll just open it out for anyone who has questions here to ask Casey, or any thoughts that are coming to you now at this point before we progress. Anything that you want to ask?
Hi, Casey.
Yes,
Hey.
Bernard.
Thanks for the presentation. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious about your topic today, CSR to PSR. Do you have an example, and how can we model? Do you have an example? Just curious to know from your side. Yeah.
I gave you the example. First thing is, if you're using writing instruments, move to a fountain pen. So you're stopping using of the use and throw ball pens, which is adding to the disaster. The first step. The next thing is you could reduce a lot of plastic at home and at office. And then you go to a larger level of solid waste management. Since you asked this question, Bernard, I started this solid waste management initiatives in my city in Bangalore in 1993. I warned the governments then that, Bangalore, which was known as a garden city, is heading towards a garbage city. And all the successive governments have worked very hard to keep my statement alive. And they made this statement in 2005, Bangalore has become a garbage city. So I'm appealing to everyone, including the governments, because they're also made up of individuals. Please save this earth. Don't, neglect it and then let garden cities become garbage cities. And let us not be bursting in the seams to manage all these civic issues and face disasters. Well, I also said that, immutable diseases would come. I never knew that it was like the pandemic that came in with different kinds of versions of COVID. But we thought that, when garbage goes down into the earth, goes into the water table, and you have hazardous waste, poisonous waste going in there, it mixes in the water table, and it could lead to a lot of diseases where your vaccines also will not work. This is what we had imagined in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But this was more of a bio war that came in, or it was made in a laboratory, whatever it may be. It really hit us hard for the last 2 years. I think every one of us have been affected one way or the other. We have lost a lot of human lives. And many of them have lost their livelihoods, and still people are grappling with the situation, not knowing how to really manage the future that's coming up. So we have many more that are going to be attacking us. So let us start with this and go with the pen, and also write slogans of save the environment, or write whatever you feel, put it in writing. It is there for people to read. Send it in writing, make a nice note, maybe scan it and send it. So it is personalized again, right? You can send a personal appeal to a lot of people and start working on various things. You have a lot of slogans like, reduce, recycle, waste, and then manage the environment. Don't do this, don't do that. Or positively, you can say plant more trees, reduce all those kinds of hazardous effects that are happening. Many things can be done. That is your personal social responsibility. And it is, I think, imperative that every human being on planet Earth needs to do their bit. That is when it becomes a large movement. That is when you can save.
I understand. What you are trying to share here, it's the change is always from me, right? It's like
Yeah.
start from the personal social responsibility, and the best way to take responsibility is by writing.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Yes, sir. I'm very
Wonderful. It's
inspired.
from within. It comes from within.
Yes, I'm very
Because
inspired
we are
with
talking.
the fountain pen, and I'm checking
Because we are
now.
talking.
Yeah.
Yes, because we are talking to each other. Okay, it's visual. I mean, it's auditory,
Yeah.
both. But if you were not in front of me, Bernard, can I ask you, where are you from?
I'm from Malaysia.
Malaysia, right? Look, I didn't know you a few moments ago. Thanks to this medium, I saw you, so we are talking. If I know your address, I will write to you, isn't it? If I have to reach out to more number of people, I will write it and send it across.
Wow, that will be
Isn't
good.
it?
Let's write to each
And
other.
it's more personal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Send to my company.
Wonderful, Bernard. Let's start this initiative.
Yes,
Write
yes.
about environment. Appeal about environment in writing. And there was somebody who did a wonderful thing in Kerala a few years ago. I, appreciate this person. I would like to take this initiative forward to all the parts of the world where they use and throw ball pens. Have a bin in front of every school, college, and government office or your private offices. Collect all this used and throw ball pens into this bin. And after a year, look at the amount of use and throw pens that you have got. With that, create a shape, collect all those ball pens and make it like a huge ball pen and have an installation. This is dangerous, don't use it. Keep it in important parts of your city and say, this is dangerous, don't use the ball pen, use the fountain pen. That's a wonderful initiative. Anybody can do in the world. We're not against the ball pen manufacturers. We're just trying to tell them that you can move to the jotter refills, or please don't do this because it is detrimental. Even straws have been banned in a few countries, I think,
Yes.
Drinking straws from plastic. You're using paper straws, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's thank you for the inspirations, because right now what we are doing, it's we are using the refillable ink pen, but it's still detrimental because there are still plastics in it.
Correct.
So fountain pen could be the best, I guess. Yeah. I think I have it. It's like this.
So you have a fountain pen with you?
No, this is like the refillable.
That's a gel pen. That's a gel pen.
This is no good. Yeah.
The gel pen also has got a plastic tube.
Yes.
And the ball pen and the gel pen have got a greater viscosity of that ink. It's very stubborn. And when you throw them, a bit of it is left out actually in the tube. There is a residue in the tube. That also adds to, some kind of a chemical reaction later as time goes by.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So thank you, Bernard. I'm happy that I could change one person now who showed the gel pen and said, I'll stop using this from tomorrow and buy a fountain pen.
Yeah,
there are a lot of shops in Malaysia. You can go and check out.
We have not thought about this. Yeah, and you could be the first person that I ever heard.
Thank you, Bernard.
Pleasure
is mine.
I'm very inspired to write you a letter. It's been a while.
Oh, wonderful.
Since the last letter we wrote to friends or whatsoever.
I will type out my address.
Sure. I will write it down. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe what we can do is look around our working table and see how many plastic ball pens we have collected.
Correct.
A lot. You look at this. It's plastics.
Yeah.
The pens, plastics.
Yeah. And then
you have ebonite pens, which are also again made of vulcanized rubber. Rubber is also from nature, and it's a mix of rubber and sulfur, and it's supposed to be very human friendly to hold and to grip and write. Ebonite pens are wonderful. If you don't get one in Malaysia, you can tell me, and I could try to organize it from India. We have again gone back to making this lovely ebonite pens, which are slightly porous, nice to hold, and then write with it.
And
Sure,
are they
will do.
available freely here? You call them Ebonite pens?
Yes, they're called as Ebonite Pens, and they are available. They're not available so freely now. They're just coming back into the production mode because they said, it used to leak and many people stopped using these fountain pens, but now they've improved their manufacturing technique, and then they're also making pens which don't leak and which flows beautifully, and it's a pleasure to write.
Okay. Ebonite pen.
Yeah.
Because other pens are also made of plastic body, and some people even make wooden pens and have a cartridge or a converter inside. We are trying to see how much of plastic we're trying to reduce in the pens too.
Okay. And
Are there anybody else asking any questions?
Sakshi, Sagar, anything that you want to add?
So, sir, it's all about giving emphasis on writing with the fountain
Yes,
pens, right?
correct.
Yes, sir.
And try to use a fountain pen which uses minimal plastic in their parts.
Okay, sir.
Right, even
When I
that.
see my handwriting today, I feel so sad because it has become worse now.
Don't
Because that
worry,
habit has gone. That
it is
habit
not
has
your
gone of
fault.
writing. Yes, sir, actually. So, as I have shared before to you, I was like appreciated in the school and in college for my writing. But today, because today itself, when at job, I have to capture timings for the videos and all. So I have to write fast. So just I was thinking, ki, what happened to my handwriting? What I'm writing, I even don't know what I'm writing that way. So how to improve, sir? Will it be able to? Is it possible to improve at this
Yeah, it is
stage?
possible to improve. You have to get back to the habit, and there are various steps and methods to improve your writing.
Yes, sir.
That's available to you. But then get back to the habit of writing first.
Yes, sir.
It
Actually,
could be a
I really want
scribble,
to.
and from a scribble and a scrawl, it can go to readable, and from readable, it can become adorable.
Yes, sir. Actually, thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Casey, for a lot of people who are aspiring authors,
Yes,
they feel that maybe typing out or speaking to the system, because there are many apps available where you speak into the system and it gets automatically typed, they don't write what they are thinking. So there are many drafts and they feel it's a lot more easier online. So, what would you like to tell those aspiring authors as far as writing your thoughts out to speaking them out and typing them out is the difference?
well, Rashmi, the new development that has come in, if you can speak and it types out, it is wonderful. But then, going by my experience and having interviewed a lot of journalists and writers in the past, most of them told me when they typed, actually, they were not able to express themselves as well as they did when they wrote. Maybe while speaking, also, you can express yourself very well. But what happens is when you write, I'll have to do another study about when you speak and it types, what is the effect? I haven't gone deep into it. But from what I have experienced, I can say that when you write, it has a direct connect with your brain. And you feel, you create the letters, you create the word, you create the sentence, and you have expressed yourself. Many times, a lot of writers would go back to what they have drafted and make a second draft or a third draft. And you remember that and you keep writing. But in the digital medium, normally you don't save all the drafts. You get a final draft and you've deleted everything else. So there you have lost out on certain ideas and certain thoughts that you had put in earlier. And you can't go back and refer. But if you're doing that by recording it and keeping it, then fine. I feel, most of us are not really that, talented to put it across the first time. We need to have 2 or 3 drafts, go back to it, refine it, and then improve upon it and make a final, beautiful, wonderful draft. That's why when you write books also, you have editing being done. And after you have read the drafts once or twice, you also may get some more thoughts to be added or some to be deleted, or you could change the words for better expression, isn't it? So I come from the old school of thought where if you write, it also remains in your memory. You have the good feel, and because your head thinks and your heart feels, and your hand is actually translating your thought and feel into writing, there's a lot more connect. There's a lot more feeling of joy. It may take a little more time, but then the end product will be excellent.
Thanks, Casey. Yes, Bernard, you can unmute and show what you showed us just now.
I agree to you, Casey, because I love writing too. You see what I wrote, what I learned here. Yeah.
Good. But I'm not able to see it very clearly.
But I write. I don't like to type. I have the
okay,
same.
very good, very good. As
like
long.
you. Yeah.
Sorry.
And I use this pencil to write. It's like the lead, and you have
yes.
this.
Correct.
This, yeah. And
right,
I like this. Yeah, this could be good too.
So as long as you're not adding to more plastic waste by throwing away the pen, you have started reducing. And
Thank
the
you,
next step is to go to the fountain pen.
Yep, I'm checking online now where to buy. It seems pretty rare, to find.
No, it is available. Online, you have a lot of pens available. You would be surprised to know that some of the well-known brands are selling pens at a fantastic price, and there are a lot of takers and buyers. It's a billion-dollar market. Fountain pens.
And any other pointers, Casey, as far as our personal social responsibility goes, that you would like to tell us or discuss further, especially now because a lot of us are moving into electric vehicles, and we think we are saving the environment. It's better compared to the pollution and the air quality that has reduced over the years thanks to the pollution of vehicles. And every house has more than 2 or 3. So what is your take on that?
See, it's a wonderful question that you asked. And my personal view is, again, when we think of the e-waste, 30, 40 years down the line, so many batteries would have been discarded from all these e-vehicles. Now, how are they going to manage that? That's also going to pile up. That's going to be a mountainous waste, because from what I understand is every 3 or 5 years, you need to change a battery. And, millions of cars just discarding those batteries. Where are those batteries going to be dumped? And are those batteries biodegradable? Are those batteries recyclable? That's the question that comes to my mind. I still feel a hybrid variety is good. They say the fuel is running short, but from what I understand, there's a lot of fuel available for at least another 200 years. There's a lot of oil in the North Sea. Not many people are aware, I think, of the oil that is available in the North Sea. Why don't you go, like Toyota made a beautiful car where, the electric takes over when you don't need to be running, when you're parked, when you're waiting for the signals, or when you're in various situations in driving, the electric motor takes over, the battery runs. Then you run it on fuel when you have to actually accelerate. So that kind of a hybrid variety of cars, I think, is the first step, rather than going totally into e-vehicles. It's very exciting to say it's an e-vehicle, it doesn't pollute. But have you thought about the great pollution these batteries can create at a later date? That's why, are you aware of the future is the question I asked. What are you going to do with all these batteries? It's for the policymakers, it's for the other thinkers to think futuristic. Because we never thought that, a motor car would create so much of pollution when the first motor car was made, isn't it? We never thought about it.
I would like to add on with what Rashmi asked as well. I think for me, I always help clients in solving their environmental problems. And what I observe a trend is when they talk about solving an environmental problem, it's always high technology. But actually, the simplest thing you can do it's what you can do in front of you. I mean, it starts from the personal, social responsibility, like what you have shared here. So, and it's often like a huge gap. I think this gap, it's something that we have to bring it back to themselves, and the best actions to help Mother Nature or Mother Earth, it starts from you. Yeah, that is my sharing. Yeah.
Every one of us make up the world, isn't it?
Yes,
Every one of us contribute to its development as well as its degradation. So let's, contribute more towards development and sustainability rather than the degradation. Maybe we are doing it unknowingly. That's where I think the awareness has to be driven so that you stop degrading Mother Nature.
Yeah, right.
Casey, there are three questions that we had asked. Are you immersed in the past, aware of the present, and clear about the future?
Right.
So, as we are moving towards the conclusion, if you can touch on each of these questions as pointers that we need to take back of being immersed in our past, aware of the present, and clear about our future, how would you like to tie it together?
Good question. If you're immersed in the past, as I had mentioned earlier, you have read about all the developments and disasters in this world, so you're aware of it. The recent pandemic also was an excellent example when the virus struck, which is unseen to the naked eye, which is not visible. The virologists were also not aware how to tackle with it. Going back, if I recall, my father was a person who was into public health. Today, I'm also happy that some of the doctors are getting into this specialty called public health. It talks about all communicable diseases, all these viruses and things like that. Since we lost out on that kind of information and knowledge from the past, we were not ready to tackle the situation. And everybody said we want to create a virus and all, create a vaccine for the virus and all that. But how effective is the vaccine also is a big question. It is to be seen. We've all been vaccinated. But what are the side effects of this vaccination will be known only 10, 20, 30 years down the line. It's too early to even talk about, it's protected us. We all got vaccinated, but most of us still got COVID or a variant of that, whether Delta or Omicron. We all suffered, even after vaccination. They said it reduced the intensity. So the past is important so that and later papers started writing every 100 years there is something coming up like this, and there was a Spanish flu. Now, how many of us knew about the Spanish flu until this pandemic came up, right? How many of us know about various other things which had come and gone in this world? Unless you are immersed in the past, you won't know what came and what hit people and how many lives were lost and how it was disastrous. So that is what I'm talking about, being immersed in the past. Please know the good and bad things. Now, the present is important for us because the present actions are leading to future developments. So currently, what are the issues we are facing? Now, your own locality may have a lot of issues which may be inherent, but you may not know. Or there are issues which you know. So please take immediate action once you come to know about the current situation, which is going towards disaster, which is a building disaster. And future, as I said, all of us are like Nostradamus. If we think for some time every day, what could happen? Now, my thoughts when I read about climate change about 30 years ago, and then I was also involved in playing those films from UK Environment Group. That's when I learned about how the ice is melting in the poles and how the sea levels are going to rise and how the rise in sea levels is going to disrupt a lot of things. Okay, to me, because I live in Bangalore, I'm thinking local, and I'm also looking around Bangalore to the neighboring states also. Now, 50 years down the line or even 80 years down the line, if the sea level rises by 2 feet, or 3 feet and enters the cities, let's talk about Calcutta, Mumbai, and Vizag, and Chennai, and Bangalore, all these places, your life is going to be completely disrupted because your sewage systems will not work. And there would be a lot of diseases spread. And you can't live in that place where there is 2 feet water in the city. Your life comes to a standstill and you've got to move out. So I see an exodus of people from all the coastal regions running towards a higher altitude. Now, what is predicted is the sea levels will go up by almost 80 feet after 50 years or so. So I look at people running to a place which is at least 200, 300 feet above sea level from wherever they are, because that's the immediate thinking that will come to the mind. Let's run to a higher plane or a higher plateau. So I see the Deccan Plateau is going to get crowded. More and more people would like to come to the garden city of the yesteryears because it's also seen as a city with a lot of wonders and the climate is great, etc., etc. I see a lot of people running into, millions of them running into Bangalore and its periphery. So how are we going to accommodate this kind of exodus of people coming to either Bangalore or going to Hyderabad or any of those small towns which are located at a higher level? Where are we going to relocate them? What are the kinds of viruses and other diseases that they will come with, right? Because of bad conditions that they come from, and then you could have a lot of diseases coming through. And water, how are you going to take care of their water needs? Every day, everybody needs water to start your day. And when more people come to a city, water supply, then sewage, and then what is their alternative means of living? Or how are you going to create alternative occupations for them? I mean, it's all a big question that comes to my mind. I wish a lot of people start thinking on these lines. I wish it will not be true, but I don't think it's wrong to think like that and be ready. You always have to be ready with plan B, plan C, plan D. If it doesn't happen, it's all right. But contingent planning is important. Trying to predict what can go wrong will keep you ready to face disasters. Because we don't plan for what is going to happen, or you don't plan for a disaster, that is when you're overwhelmed when it strikes you. And you're left clueless and you're consumed by the disaster. So past is important to learn from the past mistakes. Present is important to keep track of what is happening, what is building up to become a disaster. And so that even in future, right, Bernard, I am writing pieces about what could happen if there is such a situation. What will happen when there's an exodus into cities or places which are at a higher level, not only in India, but other parts of the world also. Is the government, is the public health and the corporation or the municipality, whatever you call the local administration, ready to face this kind of a situation? Are you ready? Don't get consumed by the situation. That's a major, bigger disaster. So I'm writing these pieces and saying, it may happen, it may not happen. I'll be the happiest if it doesn't happen. But what if it happens? Are you ready? Every one of us can pen down what could happen and how to manage it. What will be the scale of operations? Because the scale of disaster is again unpredictable and unimaginable. I think if somebody had really thought about COVID coming or something like COVID coming in, I think we would have been prepared. The first thing that struck my mind when they said COVID has come up in China, and I felt all the countries should have closed their airports, seaports, and the land borders to other countries. Because I think it is because of this cross migration that happened or the travel that happened that this virus was brought in, isn't it? You'll have to seal the borders. And I think, okay, New Zealand was a country which managed well. And again, they have very few people in that country, or the population is less. But then still, they tried to contain everything and they were able to manage it very well. Learnings from this is, come on, get ready and seal the borders. Don't allow any kind of cross travel between the states or those countries. Seal them. Then later you said, okay, seal the borders. I remember the old saying, what is the point in locking the barn after the horse is already gone? Right? And it's all always, late realizations. Let's learn from these mistakes. Now, as a common man, I can think like this. I'm sure a lot of people who have common sense will think like this. It doesn't need any kind of a, what you call, a higher level of thinking. I think commonsensical thinking will give us a lot of insights and a lot of answers. So let's take a resolution that we will write about what we think could be a disaster and how to manage this disaster. And if it doesn't happen, we are the happiest. But if it happens, we are ready with the corrective or preventive actions.
That means, sir, we have to be well prepared for the future. We have to
Yes.
think about future.
Why I ask you to write is, I may not be around in this world when something comes up.
Yes.
But if it is written down and kept as a dossier, it's a reference for the future generation.
Yes,
I'd like to make one
exactly.
point. In late 70s, when my father was heading the state of Tamil Nadu, the United States Information Service invited him to give a talk to all the American doctors. Okay, what was it about? About malaria, filaria, and this Japanese encephalitis, which is called as brain fever that comes from the pigs. I believe this was not in the syllabus of the American medical schools. They didn't know about vector diseases and vector control of malaria, filaria, and these kind of communicable diseases that were spreading. They never had it in the syllabus because they never had those incidents for many years. They removed it from the syllabus. But when it strikes, are you ready? So it's better for us to record it and keep it for future generations to refer whenever it happens. I don't know whether I'm taken in the right sense or wrong. I always felt so. Some people sometimes say that you're talking about a lot of negatives. My experiences in life says, if you're not ready to face a disaster, then you're gone. You're not there. There's nothing wrong in thinking, but don't get scared. Don't get worried. I'm not saying you need to have the fear of it. No fear. You need to have the courage to face it. When do you get the courage? When you're prepared.
So like we cannot rely on digital mediums, but we can rely on our manual handwritings and all for the records thing.
No, I feel both are important. You have both systems. If digital continues without problems and there's find new solutions in trying to have the digital storage safe and secure, let it be there in digital also. Let it be there in written form also. You need to have something to fall back, isn't it?
Yes. In olden days, we used to maintain diary for the contact numbers and all.
Correct.
Nowadays, we hardly maintain those diaries, and we just rely on our mobile
Correct.
sets. And often we lose our contacts because of some reason. So it happened with me twice. So yeah, it's very important. We should give importance to handwritten materials. We should maintain our records through handwriting and all. Yes, definitely. I believe the same.
Very good, Sagar. Today, you can lose contacts in your phone when you have a virus striking your phone or some kind of a thing going wrong in the system of the phone, and you could lose your contacts. Many times you lose your phone and you're clueless what to do. And you become helpless because you just can't contact anybody else. You don't even remember their numbers. So having a handwritten record of all these things helps you as a backup.
Very true, sir. Yes. And you also talked about hacking thing. Yes. People can hack easily your computer system, mobile things, but they won't be able to hack our recorded things in our notebook and diaries and all.
Unless if I have to hack it, I should personally steal it from you. I can't sit in some corner of the world and take it away.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Saga, for those inputs.
Okay, any other comments or feedback that or any questions you have for Casey, sir? Please feel free to unmute and ask or share.
I'm very delighted to I'm very grateful to join these sessions. I learned a lot from you, Casey. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
I don't have any questions. I think what I learned today, it's very inspiring. It's all about actions. Yeah, it's all about action. Yeah, that's what I learned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're most welcome.
Very beautifully summed up, Bernard. We've spoken enough. I think now it's time to act. And everyone's spoken a lot about this, but it's the action part that is so important. And yes, yesterday in one of the sessions, one of the participants had said, paradoxical, ironic, but COVID is a blessing in disguise. And otherwise, carbon footprint would have manifold increased with travel. But the last 2.5 years, travel reduced drastically, and people realized we can still stay connected. So every challenge comes with its own pluses and minuses. And Casey, thank you so much, because the answer to each of the questions we set out to find were learn from the past, keep track of it, and be aware of what you are going through now to record it. And then, having a vision for what you want to create is completely your handbook to face the challenges of the future. Thank you so very much for giving us the answers and showing us that now is the time. Lights, camera, action on each one of us.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. And I will
so
be
much.
sharing the
Thank you,
link.
Bernard. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Rashmi, for this opportunity. I wish that no more disasters happen, but we should be ready for disasters.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for the warning, Casey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank